Hey kids, how's everybody out there in YouTube land this evening, huh? Well, it's another beautiful day in paradise, another beautiful night in paradise coming up. Life here in Boot Key Harbor in the Florida Keys. One amazing day after another pretty much sums it up. Just one amazing day after another. Our friends over there at Three Penny Opera have some folks visiting with them. Got some chatting going on over there, so not just a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Here's a little bit of the view this evening. Give you an idea a little bit about what we're dealing with. Billy, get out of the way. Get. There you go, get down on Rosie. Yep, there's just a little bit of what we're dealing with this evening. All the boats out here in the harbor looking good. Just another beautiful day in the neighborhood, kids. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Won't you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Hey, Steve Garrity, what's going on, brother? My brother from another mother. How's it going, Steve? Oh, man. So as you can see, the sunset's developing nicely. Got some sun rays coming through the clouds. Looking kind of pretty over there. Kind of early still. Sunset's not going to be for a while yet. Hey, Rejects, what's going on, man? Good to see you here. Did I miss anybody else in the chat? No, just all Rejects and Steve. Yep, and everyone else. Yeah, they'll be along. I'm kind of starting, I think, a tad earlier tonight than what I have been recently. So I may throw some people off. There'll be some late arrivals coming in today, no doubt. So, oh man, typical day. Took Miss Lily for her walk this morning. Threw the stick for her, wore her out, but good this morning. She was panting and breathing hard. So ran her for quite a ways. Met up with Mike Gebert, Gypsy's boyfriend. And yeah, another windy day. Yeah, it is breezy again today. Anyhow, I met up with Mike Gebert this morning and talked with him. I guess Gypsy's doing fine. She actually posted some photos and stuff up to her Facebook page today, and man, it looks horrific, just absolutely horrific. Hey, Alexander, how's things, man? How's things in the Keys? Well, they are absolutely fantastic, man. Look at that beautiful evening we've got shaping up here. Sun is setting, nice and warm, hit about 80 degrees today. Wind's blowing right now at about, 10, 12, maybe 13, something like that. But we had some gusts blow up this morning. I mean, we had some gusts really blow up this morning. In fact, all the way down there through that opening, you see the bridge opening down through there. I went down through that bridge opening this morning to go down to Burdeen's to get fuel. And for a day that it wasn't raining, I got soaking wet in the dinghy coming back, just from the wind blowing up and the waves breaking over the bow on the dinghy. It got to where it was blowing. I'd say it was gusting up to 30. They said we were only supposed to gust up to 20, but I'm pretty sure we had gusts up into 30 miles an hour and even higher. So, yeah, I was able to sleep last night. Not a problem. Hey, Andy, what's going on, man? Yeah, when it blows like that, I'm trying to block the microphone here a little bit, although I think the microphone's at that end of the camera, so maybe holding my hand over here. I don't know. I'm stupid. Anyhow, the wind blows pretty good. It makes the boat rock, and frankly, it's like being a baby in a cradle. The boat sits there and rocks back and forth, and I sleep pretty soundly on those kinds of nights. I trust the mooring ball. I trust my lines up forward. I have no chafing going on. My lines all look nice and secure. So I slept like a baby last night. No problem whatsoever. Look at that, sun's developing like that. Wow, it's getting pretty. Little rays of sunlight sticking up through the top, coming up to the top through there. That cloud's moving. We may end up having sun right in our eyes here, so let's hope not. So, hello, Dan. How you doing? Welcome. Good to see you here. Nice to see you joining the chat. Anyhow, beautiful day in the harbor. Took Miss Lily for a good walk this morning. Went in for a fuel run. Boy, I spent $38 buying 10 gallons worth of gas. That kind of ticked me off, but money I really did not need to spend, money I needed to use for other things. But you know, gotta keep everything moving, gotta keep the generator going, gotta have fuel for the dinghy. That's kind of a critical thing. So ran out of fuel, had to go get fuel today. But anyhow, did a fuel run and got soaking wet from the wind blowing the waves up over the top of the dinghy. I mean, I really got wet this morning. I was kind of surprised, but yeah, $3.80 a gallon for buying gasoline, regular gasoline. Of course, it's the low ethanol style. What do we get? You're blocking the camera. There you go. It's the low ethanol style, so I guess maybe it should be a little bit more expensive. I don't know. Still seemed a ridiculous price to pay. In fact, when I got back, I was so pissed off, I called the gas station over here across the street, and they were about 75 cents a gallon cheaper. So for the $7.50 difference on 10 gallons, from now on, I'm gonna dinghy over to the dinghy dock and then load my gas cans into the wagon and walk over to the Chevron station and fill up over there and come back. For $7.50, I can afford to go for a little walk like that. It would do me a world of good anyway, get a little exercise. So anyhow, beautiful sunset developing this evening, guys. Maybe you could row your boat to shore, save a few pesos. Yeah, well, not with the wind blowing up like it is right now. As it is, my little 3.3 horsepower doesn't exactly get my dinghy up on plane. It's pretty slow. I would not want to be out there trying to row against this in the wind. My dinghy's not really, I mean, it's set up, it can row. I mean, I've got paddles and stuff, oars for it. They're called oars when you row. I have oars and stuff, but they're not really big oars, and it's not really made for rowing. I mean, yes, it is made for rowing. It's set up for rowing, but the paddles are small and the boat's heavy. So one of the things I'm going to work on, I'm going to try to put the, what is all that? Oh, someone's dinghying by. There's a little dinghy coming by. Looks like they got the same outboard on their boat as I've got. Nope, theirs is a 4.0. Mine's a 3.3. They got the 4.0. Anyhow, little folks dinghying by. Anyhow, yeah, I wouldn't want to have to row my dinghy that far. Could. It'd be a lot of work. It'd be a job. So, and that's most of that fuel. I mean, to give you an idea, if I go get 10 gallons worth of gasoline, oh, there's the sun's out around the cloud. If I go get 10 gallons of gasoline, I use maybe 1.5 of that in the dinghy. The rest of it is used on the generator here on the boat, generating electricity so that I can work my computers and charge batteries and charge the phone and all that kind of stuff. But mostly to keep the refrigeration on the boat working. And I go through, get down. I go through 10 gallons about every 10 days. So about a gallon a day. Well, about 9 days. So I guess I burn about a gallon a day with the generator, plus 1 gallon every week to 10 days for the dinghy. That's about what my fuel consumption is right now. So most of that generator fuel keeps refrigeration going. So, hey, Steve Newby. So even rowing the dinghy wouldn't make much difference. How you doing with this one down there? Huh. Hey, Smoking, how you doing, ma'am? Other than that, just worked on my real estate stuff today. Printed up envelopes as usual and got my direct mail stuff going and compiled a telemarketing list. I decided not to call people today on a Sunday. I wouldn't want to be called on a Sunday. I got a bunch of telemarketing to do, and I'll be working on my telemarketing tomorrow. Let people get in and get up, get awake. About 9 o'clock tomorrow, I'll start calling up people. I got not a lot. I've only got about 20 calls to make, not a bunch, but getting my work done for the week. And then that'll get me caught up with all the expired people. Then I need to start working on the for sale by owners, the FSBOs. There's not very many of them either. There's only about 5 or 6 of them worth pursuing. Some of them are just so far outside of reality that you got someone trying to sell a house that's worth 250 and they're asking 600,000 for it. I mean, they're just too far away from the market to obviously even be reasonable, So there was one house in there, the guy bought it 2 years ago for 320,000, and now he's trying to sell it for 600,000. Well, that's just not going to happen. The market here has not gone up in value. Market here over the last 2 years has maintained a status quo. We've seen an increase over last year, but the year before they saw a big drop, especially after Armageddon. There was a big drop in property prices here. So you see what I missed here in the chat. Let's see. What's for dinner? Andy, tonight I did Brussels sprouts for dinner. I had a big bag of Brussels sprouts, and so I did Brussels sprouts and a hot dog. So that was my dinner, was Brussels sprouts and a hot dog. Filled with helium, it would be lighter. Yeah, maybe. Okay. Nope, still raining. Sure seems like we got more rain in the last week than we did all last year, huh? Oh, there's the gust coming up. Yeah, unfortunately, Rejects, I looked at the photographs and it doesn't look like they did anything to the house. I could see the photographs from the listing when they bought the house, and then I saw the photographs that they used to advertise the house now, and they actually appear to be the exact same photographs. So maybe they did something, maybe they didn't. They didn't claim that they did anything, and the photographs still show everything being pretty much the way it was when they bought the house. In fact, I would imagine the listing realtor that sold that house back then took those photographs, and I would imagine they're probably illegally using those photos that are probably copyrighted by the old real estate agent. So I'm not going to say anything. It's up to the other agent to protect his copyright, but sure look like the same photos from the old listing to me. So they probably got online and just pulled those off of like realtor.com or Zillow or something. So no, don't you even think about it. Get your furry butt out of here. She came right down and was looking like she's going to get comfortable standing right over me. Nope, not having it tonight. Anywho, let's see what else went on that was exciting today. That's about it. I got down below and worked, and this is the first daylight I've seen coming up now to see the light of day. So that's just about it all day today. Not much of the way of excitement going on here. So yeah, the guy is just way off base on that. So stop running here around 10ish here. The sun is on the way. There you go. Watermark your pics. Yeah, well, you should. Always a good idea to do that. I don't like to do that because I don't like to see the watermarks on the pictures. But and frankly, I'm not overly concerned about some of that stuff. I mean, as a realtor, if I take pictures of a house, once that house is sold, I don't really care if somebody wants to copy that photo or not. It doesn't bother me one iota. So if they thought I did a good enough job to take a picture, let them copy it. But I know some realtors get bent out of shape about that, especially when another realtor uses their pictures. And I know I've been guilty of that before, unintentionally. I had a homeowner send me a bunch of pictures of their property that they had, pictures that they claimed were their photos, and the old agent put a claim out saying that they were his pictures and that I wasn't allowed to use them. And I ended up having to complain to the real estate board that I was using their copyrighted photos. I had to get a letter from the homeowner saying that that's not true, that they were their photos, and they provided them to the original realtor, and he didn't sell them. He didn't sell the house. So that happened, and then of course he dropped his claim of copyright, but he tried. Sometimes people can be pretty petty. Yeah, he claimed they were his photos when they weren't. They were the homeowner's photos. So such is life. I coffee marked a bunch of documents this morning. They look horrible now. Yeah, right. Open picture fusion up and read the metadata, properties in the windows. Yeah, that's right. Not hard to do. Not hard to do, I guess. Well, that wind is still blowing pretty good out. Other than that, really wasn't anything real exciting going on today. Yesterday I missed. They had a seminar on spearfishing, and I wanted to go to that, and I completely forgot about it and missed that seminar yesterday. I guess from looking at the Facebook page, they had a pretty big turnout, but other than that, they really didn't do much. So that, and I had fun playing on Instagram today. I did some Instagram work today, some of my social media stuff. Maybe I'm late, but here. Hey, Coyote. It's all right, brother. You're always welcome, man. EBC Sup. E-Biker Coyote, I guess. EBC Sup. All these acronyms for everybody now. Oh, brother. So it's supposed to blow again pretty good today and tonight, and then it's supposed to get calm tomorrow. We got rain coming in tomorrow, though. It's supposed to be raining, and I was going to do laundry tomorrow. I was going to do laundry today, but the wind was blowing too much. I just didn't see, Lily, I didn't see much point in doing laundry and then having it on the boat and having the wind blow salt water all over it and get it all wet again. So I guess I could put it in my big dry bags. I could have done that, but I said, no, I'll wait for another day when it's not so windy. Saturdays and Sundays are usually pretty busy over at the laundry area anyway. A lot of the cruisers do their laundry on the weekends, so I don't know why. Most of them don't work. I'd say, maybe 10% of the boats here in the harbor have people on board that work. Most people just are retired, so. Oh, maybe tomorrow. Go to laundry. I already got enough money saved on my laundry card. They issue us this little credit card thing that we use for doing our laundry. You gotta slide a little credit card in there. It's even got a chip in the end, just like a regular credit card. Not a swipe through, but you insert it and it reads the chip. They can load the chip with money there at the marine office, and you can use that to use for the washer and dryer. $3 for a load to wash and $3 for a load to dry. It's a little pricey, but cheaper than any place else around here. I never use the Instagram. It is widely used by business entrepreneurs. Facebook is popular. Well, yeah, rejection. It's sort of a socioeconomic thing. I find Instagram tends to be, more of the young affluent people are more on Instagram. Facebook is getting to be more of the older folks. You just jumped on the dinghy and sat down, and now you're whining. You went down there. I didn't tell you to go down there. You went down there all on your own. Nobody asked you to go down there. Nobody. You did that to yourself, so don't whine at me. No, don't you whine at me. You went down there all on your lonesome. Yes, you did. It's funny. It just struck me as weird. She just jumped down there and then started whining like she's being punished or something. So I don't know. That sunset's really colorful this evening. I like the light play on the clouds. It's really pretty. So. Got to hold the phone, the tripod down. It's holding the phone. That wind's trying to blow the phone over. There, it backed off. We've been getting some big blows coming through. We had a lot of dinghies go missing last night too on the morning net. I live streamed the morning net this morning. I don't know if you guys heard that. I did do the morning net this morning. They were talking about a few different dinghies that had gone missing in the night and had been found. All of them are present and accounted for now, but People don't do a very good job of tying their dinghies. I always use 2 points. I have a bow line on it. I have the painter that wraps up and hooks around the drum here on the boat. And then I have a stern line, which I also secure to a cleat. So I always have my dinghy tied 2 different ways. Once on the bow and once off the stern. And that way it's less likely it's going to come free and go anywhere. So, and it slows down anybody that might decide they want to borrow it. They would have 2 things to have to deal with to borrow it. So not likely they're going to mess with old Rosie. She's not a very pretty dinghy, and she's got she's got a newer Mercury. That outboard's, it's an older one, but it's really new in that it hasn't been used hardly at all. So I don't know. She's in pretty good shape. Yeah, it's a pretty sunset, isn't it? You guys are all having a beer. I'm out of beer right now. Hey, Canadian Giant, how you doing? Hey, Marie, how you doing, darling? How's the happy lady today? The happy lady. Oh, man. So tomorrow is going to be a telemarketing day. Going to be spending a lot of time on the phone. Going to try to get the laundry and shower taken care of in the morning after Miss Lily's walk, but then it's going to be a lot of phone work tomorrow. And we'll see how that goes. Trying to become a bit more proactive. Other than that, really not a whole lot of exciting stuff. I mean, folding and stuffing envelopes, sticking stamps on, writing letters. What are you whining about? Go lay down. Go on, Kettle. Come on, you want to go down below? Go, Kettle. There you go. It's like she's not happy. I'm not doing something she wanted me to do. There you can see that sunshine. Beautiful over there. These guys have an interesting boat, that sort of long yellow canoe looking thing. They have that tied onto their back of the boat, and then they have a little pram dinghy too. You see that little canoe thing, he rows it. Well, looks like he's rowing it. Looks like he's rowing it with 1 oar. Oh no, he's got 2 oars, okay. Didn't see the other one at first. So he's a rowing your boat. Although that would probably row pretty easy. It's pretty slick in the water. Although if he keeps going the way he's headed, he's going to run in the back of that boat right there. Hope she's giving him some direction. Left, left. There he's turned. He's going to come right up by us. Let's see. How do you get the numbers of the people you're telemarketing? Do you just open a phone book and start dialing? No, rejects. The telemarketing I'm going to be doing tomorrow, I'm going to be specifically calling people that had houses on the market that for whatever reason the property didn't sell during their initial listing period. So they probably put their house, I mean, for the most part, the listing periods are 1 year. So a year ago they listed their house on the market with a particular realtor. For whatever reason, that realtor did not succeed in selling their house, and so they what I'm doing is calling them up and seeing if they're still interested in selling, and if so, would they consider working with me instead of some other realtor. I mean, that's the basic gist of it. There's a lot more involved than that, but the bulk of the people I'll be calling tomorrow are what we call expired listings, people that had their house on the market, that marked the house didn't sell. And so I'm calling them up to see if I can get them to list the house with me to get it sold instead of going back and trying to work with whoever it was who didn't get the job done the first time. So I find those to be highly successful at picking up some listings. So at least I've had great success in doing that. So boy, just a beautiful sunset. I love those rays shooting straight up in the sky like that. It's pretty. A little fireball behind the cloud over there. So I'm going to be calling, for the most part, expired listings, but I'm also going to be calling on people who are trying to sell it themselves. We call it for sale by owner. So we'll be calling some FSBOs tomorrow and seeing if I can convince them to quit wasting their time trying to sell it themselves and list it with a realtor to almost beer colored. Yeah, almost. I could see that. Yeah, it's kind of got that golden U to it. So, oh, so you have a focus group or target audience. That's a good idea. Yeah, I don't just like cold call anybody I don't just cold call anybody that owns a house. I mean, these are specifically people that have had houses on the market. To give you an idea how targeted the marketing is, so these are people that are here in this area that have had a house for sale that it did not sell. And I tend to specialize on those people that don't live here in the area. So the people I'm calling tomorrow are actually what we call NROs, non-resident owners that are expired. So even another level of specification. And that's an area that I tend to excel in. In fact, I've got 10 or 12 phone calls, and I'll probably end up with a couple of 3 listings out of that. So we'll see. But I need to get all the listings I can get right now. I'd like to have 50 of them if I could. But 20 right now would be nice, and I'm working my way towards that. So, and just to clarify, I don't have 20 now, so don't have people who jump to conclusions out there, because God knows they will. All the idiots will be, well, you said you had 20 listings. No, I didn't. I said I'm working towards that. Pay no attention. Oh, that's all right, pilot. We don't pay much attention to you anyway. Oh. Anyhow, so that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow. We're going to be telemarketing some people and see what we can do. Do some business. Make some money. Some moolah. Some bakshish, some chinks. Our bones. Man, we got a lot of different names for money, don't we? For some reason, people using the English language just thinks it's necessary that we got to have 5,800 words for every single item in the world. I don't know why English is that way. I understand English is extremely difficult for people to learn because there are so many phrases like that. I mean, just like money, money, coin, bucks, buckaroo, cabbage. We have so many different names for it. Kind of crazy. I don't know. Glad I'm native speaking English and not have to learn English. That would be a difficult language to learn. There you go, wood beast dough. Yep. Yeah, we could come up with a crap load of different words that we use for money. Bread. Yep. Yeah. And along those lines, I guess, when you give someone change, you're just giving them the crumbs back from your bread, huh? Oh, that might be a bit of a stretch, isn't it? Oh, I got to turn around here. Look the other direction. Let my butt cheek rest. Let me sit you guys down here. Oh, I could just leave you set just like that. You could just peek over the combing there. Oh, man. All right, there we go. Hello, dog. Hello. What are you doing, dog, huh? Huh? What are you doing? Huh? What are you doing? Are you here being a pain in the butt? Now, interesting thing. She has a water dish here on the deck. You see that water dish? It's stainless steel water dish, right? Well, stainless steel is not supposed to rust, but that dish rusts. But I try to keep it as rust-free as I can, and she has her water there in that dish. But I also have a stainless steel water dish down in the underneath the table down below, which is her main water dish. It's the big one, and I keep it full of water. So she's got water down there. She's got water up here. She prefers this dish up here over that one. I mean, hands down. I think the rust must give it a flavor that she just prefers. It's the only thing I could think of. But Miss Lily will oftentimes prefer coming up on deck and drinking out of this rusty dish than drinking out of the nice clean one down there. So go figure, that's dogs for you, right? So snows a lot where you are, pilot. Yeah, he's in Minnesota. Yep, cheap stainless, absolutely, yep. Can you put an ad in a local paper or magazine for your services, radio perhaps? Yeah, rejects, those, I used to do that kind of stuff when I was a younger, less experienced realtor, and I find them to be a huge waste of money. Print advertising is dead. I mean, it really is. Magazines, newspapers, that kind of stuff, it's just dead. It's just wholly ineffective. Today it's, you know, it's Wi-Fi, it's YouTube, it's Instagram, it's Facebook. That's where the market's at. That's where the attention is. You know, when was the last time you actually saw somebody? I don't know if you're a commuter. I'll give you an example. I saw a picture on the Long Island Railroad. All the commuters in the Long Island Railroad. Even as little as 20 years ago, if you saw all the commuters on the Long Island Railroad, you know, people on their way on from Long Island, New York, on the way into New York City to their work. 20 years ago, majority of them would have a newspaper or magazine open and be reading something in the paper. 20 years ago. Today, all the attentions are in the devices. Everybody's got their phone or their iPad or their tablet or whatever open, and they're looking at that. That's where the attention is. So you got to advertise on these devices. You got to be on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. That's where the money's at. That's where the attention is at. You're, you know, putting an ad in a local newspaper. Nobody does that anymore. Nobody reads them anymore. When was the last time you saw somebody reading a newspaper? I think I've seen one person reading a newspaper in the last month. And that was a local, you know, thing here in Marathon they were looking at just to see what local events were going on. But, you know, I used to, when I had my real estate office in New York in the early 80s, I used to spend a fortune advertising in newspapers or magazines. People don't read them either. People don't read magazines anymore. So, yeah, that's all. Technology has moved away from that. Technology has moved us away. So, yeah. So to be successful, I find I need to be at the places where the attention is at, and where the attention is at is on the handheld devices, the tablets and stuff, and also, well, yeah, I understand that, Woodbeast. Direct mail does go in the trash, but you know what? You've got to look at the envelope before you throw it out. And when something is hand addressed to you with a regular stamp on it, not a business, you know, bulk mailed piece, people will open it. The majority of people will open it. Now, after they've received 3 or 4 or 5 of them from me, if they're legitimately not interested, then they will just throw them in the trash to recognize them for what they are. But the first 1 or 2 will get opened. And if they open them up, then they can at least see my name, and that's the impression I want. I want them to have my name etched in their memory. That's the whole goal of sending them the piece, is so they'll see the name Carl Brook, and then, you know, a year or 2 from now, when they decide they're going to sell their house, they're going to say, let's go find a realtor, and they'll see something with my name on it. They go, oh yeah, that's that Carl Brook guy. He used to send us stuff. Let's call him. You know, he was sending us letters all the time. Let's call him. So you build that branding and stuff. But targeted Facebook ads are cheaper than newspapers anyway. Much, yeah. And very, very specific. You know, I can advertise on Facebook to just people that live here in Marathon, Florida, as an example. I can advertise to people that just live in Marathon, Florida, that are between 40 and 45 years of age, that own a home. I can be that specific. So I can email, or I can market to people that have a specific interest. People who like dogs, who lives in Marathon, Florida, between the ages of 40 and 45. I mean, you can really narrow your investment down, so you're getting a really good bang for your buck. Problem with Facebook is it's still kind of a shotgun approach, in that you're just blanketing everybody in the community, and so that can get spendy and become ineffective as well. So with all the different venues that are available, including my direct mail, the most cost effective, the most effective thing I can do, and the most cost effective thing I can do, they happen to be the same, they are different entities, but they happen to be the same, is picking up my phone and calling these expireds like I'm going to do tomorrow. That's the single most effective and least expensive marketing for me to do. Picking up the phone and calling people. Generally speaking, I end up leaving a lot of messages on answering machines, majority of which never get returned. But sometimes I will, I had a situation last week where a guy had, unfortunately, I'd called him the day after he had just signed the documents to renew his listing with the other realtor. He'd given him an extra 60-day extension. But he was really impressed by my message that I left, and the fact that I actually called him. Apparently I was the only realtor that actually had called him. He's in sales and marketing himself. He understands and appreciates that. So he said if they don't sell it in 60 days, the listing's mine. So that's fine. I run into that kind of stuff a lot. You know, we're dealing with sophisticated people here, and so they get it. You know, they understand work ethic and doing that kind of stuff. So, and in fact, they want to be working with somebody like that. And then on the other side of the coin, you're going to get those other people that are, you know, offended by the fact that I telemarketed them. And those are the people, and those are very few and far between. I get one of those like every 5 years or so. And those are the guys that'll be sitting on that same house trying to sell it 5 years from now without success, and blaming all the realtors for their lack of success, even though they didn't list it with any of us. So anyhow, just the way it is. Let's see, many print companies can mimic hand addressed and add real stamps. No offense, I'm just saying. Yeah, they can. Yeah, but they're not. I mean, that's the point, Woodbees. My competition here in this area isn't. So, yes, I have a new local phone number. Day late and $1 short, that sucks. Okay, I'm sorry, with just the EBC. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I mean, anybody can do that. The other side of the coin is the other realtors here in the area aren't doing it. So, yeah, and I have no problem with somebody not answering the call. I just leave a message on the machine. They usually listen to the message and hang up or not, you know, whatever. It's all good. It's a numbers game, you know. You make 100 phone calls expecting you're gonna, you know, out of 100 phone calls, you'll hopefully get one listing. So you sit there and you smile and dial. That's sales. That's a big part of sales. Doing what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. That's one of the terms that we use. You got to do what you don't want to do when you don't want to do it at the highest level. If you're not willing to do that, then you might as well not be in sales. So, boy, it just got really gray out. There's like no color at the sunset at all right now. I mean, that's what we're looking at back there. Remember how bright and colorful it was a little bit ago? Well, that's what it looks like right now. So you're not missing anything by looking at my ugly mug instead of looking at the sunset, guys. You did it. I don't think that many people click on internet ads. No, and they probably aren't going to click on them. Only those people that have a specific interest are going to click on them. So they're faking phone numbers now too. Yep, they are. I don't need more locals either smoking. Okay. Can you target people with real estate signs on their front lawn? Walk up, knock on the door, and say, "Why are you listing with them? List with me." No. No, you can't interfere with the contractual obligations that people have with another realtor. If somebody's listed with another realtor, then I can't touch them unless that listing expires. So, risk competitors sign down, stick your own sign. Yeah, we don't do that kind of stuff. As tempting as that might be, and I can tell you in some of the real estate markets that I've worked in before, there's been times I would look at a house listed with another realtor. I was like, why in the hell would you list with that idiot? As an example, I'll give you an example. There's a woman in Montana where I used to sell homes in Livingston, Montana. This woman could care less what price she took a listing at as long as they listed it with her. She would promise people the moon and the stars trying to get the listing, knowing damn good and well that there was no possible way that property was ever going to sell for the price that she was promising. But people would hear her and, and hear that big number and be like, oh, I'm going to list with her because she thinks she can sell my house for, whatever. And so I would see a lot of properties in Montana that were, $200,000, $300,000 homes that she would have on the market for $500,000 or $600,000. Now, why is she doing that? Well, she's doing that just so she can have a whole lot of listings, which makes it look like she's doing a good job and she's doing a lot of business and she's an active agent. The problem is she wasn't closing any of those properties. She had a whole bunch of houses on the market and they sat on the market and they sat on the market and they sat on the market. Why they sat on the market? Because she had them grossly overpriced just so she could get the listings. But that kind of stuff does go on. It's unethical in my book. Not something an agent should be doing. We have a responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility to our clients to be giving them accurate information. And I work really hard with my clients to make sure they list a property at the right price. Otherwise, they're wasting their time and my money, the way I look at it. So, but she didn't care. She would list it for any price. She would promise them any number that they wanted, just so she could get the listings. So what happens is the property would be on the market for a year and it wouldn't sell. Then the people would get angry and not want to renew the listing with her. So they would then have to go and work with another realtor. Well, the second realtor that would come along would try to explain to them how grossly overpriced they were, and they would have a hard time believing that. So they would drop the price down a little bit, but not anywhere near where it should be. And they would go another year without selling the property. And so usually I would be the third agent. 3 years down the road, I would come in and say, look, I mean, you guys can want the sun, the moon, and the stars, but in the meantime, you've wasted 2 years trying to sell your house. While you've been waiting to sell your house, 5,500 other houses in the community have sold. Yours didn't. This is why. This is what the market is for your house. You have to list it at that price. Anything above that, you're just wasting your time. It's just simply not going to sell. There's too many other properties very much like yours people could buy for the right price. And finally, I would convince them to get the property down and get it marketed, or some other realtor would, not just me. But in the meantime, you have an agent like that, and she's doing it just so she can have all those listings and make it look like she's a busy agent, but really, she's just creating a problem for everybody and costing them money. And sometimes costing them a lot of money because, they lost out on whatever opportunities they could have been involved with. And plus, 2 years of their lives they could have been spending at wherever they wanted to move to. So, not a great situation. Anyhow, let's see here. I clicked on something the other day. Next thing I know, I'm watching some lesbian nun sheep herders. All right, well, there you go. Lost my rake under the snow, but I found it today and about knocked myself out. Note to self, don't do that again. Sorry, Gary. Oh, man. Yeah, it definitely sucks. You definitely don't ever want to leave a rake with the tines sticking up, man. They'll come up and whack you pretty good. Why would somebody do that? Listings don't make money, selling makes money. Well, Johnny, the reason she did that is because it gave her, she had just left, she had been working for one of the bigger firms there in the area, and she just left that and went off independent as her own agent. And so she was promising people the sun, the moon, and the stars because she just wanted to get a lot of listings. If she had a lot of listings, then she had the people had the expectation that she must be being successful. She must be a good agent to work with. She's got lots of other people are working with her. She was trying to create an impression that she was being successful, and she wasn't. Well, I mean, she was to a little degree. She was. I mean, a couple of properties would sell. They wouldn't sell anywhere near for the prices that she was in. I mean, typically in that market, we were selling houses at 92 to 94% of asking price. Sometimes they would get down to 80-85% of asking price, depending on the time of year. With her listing, she was getting down to, people were buying them at 70, 65, 70% of asking price. So that's because people realized they were grossly overpriced and were making offers that were much closer to what the market was. The one problem she was running into a lot, though, with even those properties is anytime it was involved with bank financing, her properties would never appraise. The appraisals would come in low, and then the people would have to drop their price down in order to sell the property at whatever the bank appraised it at. So, not that the bank appraised it, the bank hires an appraiser to do that. But the bank will only loan a percentage of that appraised price. Typical mortgage will be 80%. In other words, if the appraiser appraises the house at $100,000, the bank will loan $80,000 on a $100,000 property. They want to have some equity in there for their own protection. So, but anyhow, that's how that worked. Are the sheep lesbians? But in 2 or 3 years, they listed the property value would go up. We list with a reduced price. Now the property is going way too cheap. How do you win? Rejection. Don't make the assumption that property values always go up. In a lot of areas, property values do not go up. Here in the Florida Keys, in fact, they lost quite a bit of value in the post-Armageddon time frame. So there are property values don't just always go up. Property values do correct. There's been a number of times in our economy where property values have dropped back down. Sometimes a place will get oversold, or something will happen that property values will drop. So you just can't go on the assumption that property values are always going up. In the long haul, on the long haul, like look from 1935 till present, yes, property values have continued to rise. But in small geographic areas and in certain time frames, there are some corrections to that. As an example, I started my career as a realtor in New York on Long Island in the early 80s. Well, in 1986, Congress repealed what was known as the Tax Reform Act. Now, the Tax Reform Act was allowing a lot of high net worth individuals to write off the interest rate they were paying on their real estate that they owned, and being able to directly deduct that from their taxable income. So they could afford to lose money on real estate. They could buy a property with a negative cash flow because they could use their losses against that property to offset it. And so as a result of that tax law, the real estate properties in that area were having overinflated prices because a lot of high net worth buyers were buying into the market and paying high prices for properties, knowing they were going to be carrying negative cash flow in order to shelter their income. 1986, Congress repealed that. Said you can't do that anymore. So all of a sudden, all those high net worth buyers that were carrying negative cash flow turned around and put all those properties back on the market. And I mean, this happened over a period of like 3 months. There was a glut of houses that came on the market, investment properties, 2-family houses, 3-family houses, that kind of stuff. I know for a fact because at the time I was managing about 2,000 units. Now, when I say 2,000 units, a 2-bedroom house or a 2-family house would be 2 units. Each apartment's a unit. So I was managing about 2,000 units, and some of those were apartment buildings, some of those were small houses and stuff. But anyhow, it can very definitely have an impact in the property values. That area saw a huge dip in property values that lasted quite a while. So, just saying. Anyhow, let me see what else I missed in the chat. Hey, thanks for putting up my PayPal there, Woodbees. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Urson, hello from Turkey. You know why the Scots wear kilts? Because the damn sheep can hear a zipper a mile away. No matter the selling price, she got the listing by overpricing. She still gets the commission. No, Ron, she doesn't get the commission because the house is so overpriced it didn't sell. It actually has to sell for anybody to actually get a commission. So no, she did not get the commissions, and that was her plan all along. She really wasn't expecting those houses to sell and for her to make money from them. She was expecting those houses to make it look like she was a good realtor doing a lot of business, and then she would get other listings, and then with the anticipation that she would get better at pricing and those properties would sell. So that was kind of her plan. So yeah, those listings that she took that she overpriced, she knew those weren't going to sell. Well, she'd have to be foolish to think they were going to sell for that kind of price. So, hey, Bill, how's it going? Hey, Carl, where did you get that long-handled dip net? I don't know. It's a Frabill, It's a Frabill, Frabill. But I have a bunch of them. I have a second one actually bigger than that. I bought them up in Alaska. Those are Alaska nets. On the net, Bill. Was that a pun? Yeah, I guess that was a pun. Okay. Yeah, I've got a bunch of those nets. In fact, I've got 2 of them I can grab right here. Up in Alaska, a lot of these nets are this way. This was a small Frabill, and it's got a little handle that extends out and gives you a nice long-handled net. You push the little button in, and it shortens down, so you have a little portable net that you can carry that's a lot easier to carry. This is my big net. Now, you guys know how big I am. You realize how big this net is. I actually have the handle in this one in backwards. But you can take that handle out and turn it around and have a great big net. Because up in Alaska, they would do something called dip netting, where they would just stand there in the water. There was so many fish, you would just stand there in the water and pull the fish out as they went by. Uh-oh, I'm caught on stuff. Yeah, that's the problem with these nets out here in the cockpit. They catch on everything. There we go. There's that. And then see, it's got another button here. I can push that button in, and I can extend the handle. Oh, maybe I could extend the handle. All right, come on. Why aren't you extending? Why aren't you extending? Aha. That's why. Gotta pull it from down here. Gotta pull it from down there. Oh. There you go, Bill. Look at this one. You want to see a long-handled net. This is a dip net. There. You see how long that one is, Bill? That's a long-handled net. See if I can get it down in this wind. I gotta find a hole. It's there someplace. There we go. Got it in there. Anyhow, that's a really big net for dip netting up in Alaska. So, get those wedges back up in there. Put the handle with it. I'll put that back later on. But, yep, big net. Up in Alaska, along the coast, they would have different fish would just, I mean, they would come in and be there in such huge schools. You could literally just stand there on the bank and take a net and just dip the fish out. Didn't even have to catch them on a line. That's called dip netting. And that's a dip net. So there you go. There's a dip net for any of you guys that want to go dip netting. Let's see here. Maybe the company she worked for paid her bonus for each listing regardless. No, reject. She was a broker. She didn't work for a company. When she was doing this when she left the company she was working for to start her own business. She was working as a broker. There wasn't anybody paying her for anything like that. 40-car pile up in Wisconsin. Wow. You can get yourself a blue whale. Yep, pretty big. Yeah, for manatees, it would be. Yeah, that's a nice one. Yes, it is, Bill. That's a big one. That's a long shaft. Yep. How's the fishing been? Good question. I haven't been fishing. I've been working and not fishing. Something I have to do more of. I need to spend more time fishing. Looking forward to doing more of that. So. Well, we had a beautiful sunset earlier, and now it just kind of petered out. Getting a little bit more orangey back over there, but not anywhere near like it was. The sun's down over the horizon. I only heard one conch horn tonight. I guess with all this wind blowing, nobody's up on deck. And my Jolly Roger has just about had it, guys. Let me show you the Jolly Roger. See what's left of it? There's just that little stub of a flag left. The Jolly Roger is pretty much just completely petered out. You guys might remember I bought that Jolly Roger up in Ohio just before we left. It's been on the boat now since Sandusky, Ohio. And that's all that's left of it. It's just that little bit up there. I need to get a new Jolly Roger, I guess. There's a little bit what the sunset looks like right now. Getting to be evening here on the harbor. Come on, Lily. Come on, Kennel. All the lights are starting to come on. Mast lights are popping on. Saw a new mast light I want to get, LED to put up at the top of my mast, but it's solar powered in that it turns itself on and off automatically with the daylight. I mean, when it gets dark out, the light comes on, and when it gets bright out in the morning, it shuts itself off. Completely automatic. Don't have to think about turning it on or turning it off. It just goes on and off by itself, but it's LED, so it doesn't tear the batteries down very much. So I have to look in to get one of those. Still beautiful. You're right, Marie. Still beautiful out here, even this time of night. Not as much of a bright color on the horizon there, but still pretty here in the harbor nonetheless. So, and we're kind of whipping around a bit. Let's see. Okay, what was it legal to net spawning salmon in Alaska? In some places, yes. In some places, it was. Not very often though. Usually, you were not fishing while they were spawning, but some places and some times of the year, yes, depending on how big the stocks were. So yes, always beautiful. Yes, it is. Okay, caught up with the chat. So anyhow, kids, that was the day today. You know, walked the dog, got fuel run, got wet getting the fuel run. Going to do laundry and shower tomorrow. Big excitement for the day, but mostly tomorrow I'm going to be telemarketing, making phone calls. So that'll be fun. May have to. I got to do a minor provision tomorrow too. I need to pick up. I ran out of a couple things. Ran out of butter. I forgot to buy butter the other day. So I'm out of butter. I have just about that much of a stick of butter left, and that's it. I got plenty for breakfast. Got everything I need for breakfast, but I can't make popcorn tonight. I like buttered popcorn. I guess I could make popcorn and not put butter on it, but it's just not right. Gotta have butter on the popcorn. If I use the butter I have, which would be plenty for popcorn, then I would have nothing for breakfast. I can't do that. Well, I guess I could. I could do bacon tomorrow and fry my eggs in bacon grease. Fry my eggs in some bacon grease. But But then I wouldn't have any butter for my English muffins, so maybe I'll leave a little. I don't know. All these problems that we have to deal with in life, you know? All these tough decisions you got to make. I tell you, man, being an adult sucks. I want to be a kid again where I don't have to think about all this stuff anymore. Use coconut oil. Well, I use coconut oil to make popcorn. I fry my popcorn in coconut oil. But I don't use coconut oil for buttering bread or for buttering the top of the popcorn. So, and the thoughts of doing boat tours of your neighbors. Yeah, 6, 7, I don't know. I don't know. I'm a little leery doing that. I think it's an imposition on a lot of people to have somebody come through and do a tour of their boat. You know, although I really haven't asked around anybody if they'd be willing to do that, but I don't know. Maybe on the chat tomorrow I'll mention it, see if there's anybody else out there. Bacon topped with bacon grease. Popcorn topped with bacon grease. Really? Bacon grease on popcorn? I've never had that. That doesn't sound like it would be good. Bacon flavored popcorn. I mean, bacon flavored anything is good, but hadn't thought about that. Olive oil for eggs. Yeah, I mean, I could fry the eggs in coconut oil. I could fry the eggs. It's not frying the eggs. It's buttering the toast. I wouldn't want toast with coconut oil or even bacon grease on it. I like toast with butter on it. So that's the problem. Having my butter and eating it too. Oh, such problems. And it doesn't matter. I still need to go buy some butter. So, no, do not have a microwave. I do popcorn the old-fashioned way, up on the stove top, in a large pot on the stove top. Pour a little bit of coconut oil down the bottom, put the popcorn in, put the lid on, shake, 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 shake. So, Jelly Belly jelly beans are the best. Oh gosh, jelly beans on popcorn. God, that'd be sticky mess. Huh? I don't know. Of course, you know, I also like putting Parmesan cheese on my popcorn. Just sprinkle a little bit of Parmesan on top. So maybe I'll just put some Parmesan on the popcorn and have it be dry. Have no butter on it at all. Where do you get the baby oil from? Well, you squeeze babies, man. You squeeze babies. No, I don't use baby oil. I use coconut oil. Squish the baby really hard and the oil comes out. Yeah, I imagine it would. It's delicious, and then sprinkle Parmesan cheese on top. Oh, okay. Mineral. I wouldn't want mineral oil in my food. No. Oh. That'd be nasty. That would be nasty. No, I like frying the popcorn in either coconut oil or olive oil. The olive oil gives it an interesting flavor. I could just do olive oil alone without butter. That would work. That gives it a nice flavor to it. Olive oil with some Parmesan cheese. And I would have Italian popcorn. Put a little oregano on there. Pizza corn. Hey, I may be onto something there. I may be onto something. Have a little dry shredded mozzarella on top. So cottage cheese on top. Oh gosh, that's not nasty. Cottage cheese on popcorn. Oh my God, guys. Okay, you're getting crazy now. Anyhow, guys, listen, it's getting dark here. It's time for me to get down below and deal with stuff. So, oh, baby oil is mineral oil. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and end this here. But listen, guys, you guys be good and be careful. Take good care of one another. Remember, in the description down below and in the chat, there's been a number of links to my PayPal. Really need some funds right now. I got a phone bill coming up, and I've got my mooring ball bill coming up. Really need some funds coming in. I'm getting kind of worried about it. If we don't get the phone bill paid, live stream stop. It won't be anymore. That simple. Can't live stream without a cell phone. So I got to get that paid. And it's a big one this month. It's $290. So anyhow, if you guys can help out, please do. Hit the PayPal up. We would appreciate it. All right. Anyhow, with that said, guys, First Nation people can dip net in BC Canada. Yes, they can. Yes, they can, Martin. All right, guys. Be good, be careful, take good care of each other, and we will see you.